shadow out of the way and kick this off just by reviewing our schedule. And so I'm going to be presenting to you an introduction to Project Change, an overview, a little bit about our sponsors, our awards, and some sample projects. And then Annika is going to launch into what she has called the secret sauce from BC Hydro Power Smart. So this is her expertise, years of experience, decades of experience from BC Hydro Power Smart on how to change social norms. And I know a lot of you are already working on projects where this is part of your process, as well as principles of social marketing. So I know at least one team is organizing a pub night this Friday, so this is very timely. Annika is going to help you get more attendees at your pub night and fundraisers, and then we'll go to the Q&A mode. So a little bit about Project Change 3.0. This is the third time that we've done Project Change, and really the process is you dream it, so you come up with your project idea, you do it, you form your team, you execute the project, and then you hand in a PowerPoint or a Word document report or a video, or really you could get creative, and then you can win prizes. And the prizes really go to the teams that produce the best results and or show the most innovation. So sometimes we've had teams win that have not succeeded in the results area for some reason, but they're very good at highlighting why that was, and they're able to demonstrate a high level of innovation. Our sponsors this year are Delta Hotels, BC Hydro Power Smart, the Vancouver Convention Centre, Whistler Blackcomb Helijet, Vancouver Trolley, Grouse Mountain, the Aquarium, Tourism Vancouver, MEC. Other partners are coming on every day, and so this really represents the prizes for Project Change. There are things like hotel room nights at Delta Hotels, or sightseeing tours that are carbon offset with Helijet, or lift tickets with Whistler Blackcomb, things of that nature. So on our website, we have this 5-page overview that contains all of the information you should need to know about Project Change, including a score sheet and things like that. But if you ever have questions about Project Change, I'm the right person to contact. I'll just go over the process. So initially, we were going to launch this amazing registration platform on our new website, but it's not fully functioning. So in order to register for Project Change, really you don't have to do anything. But if you'd like to get updates and information directly emailed from me, it would be great if you could just send me an email with your name and the names of your team members. And that way, when we do update, say, the prizes, or if we have a new element to the judging component, we can let you know. You're already working on your projects, a lot of you. You have really until the end of the school year to hand these in. Our due date is March, I believe, 27th. So the end of March 2014. It gives us time to pull everything together and evaluate it. Our office will evaluate first, and then our panel of judges will take the top 50% and evaluate those for prizes. On April 24th, we are going to have our awards ceremony. It's a Thursday evening down at the Vancouver Convention Centre, and anybody who has done a project is more than welcome to attend. We want a lot of people there. This is where you'll get to network with the people in our industry who think sustainability is important and really want to acknowledge you as change leaders. And it's a great networking time. So a couple of examples of projects that have happened in the past. We have, for instance, promoting green travel from VCC. This did very well last year. They made a video with tips and facts about the impacts of hotels on resources. And so they actually created kind of a how to pick a hotel based on sustainability metrics on how to change your own behavior. And just a video isn't enough, right? They needed to show results. So they surveyed all of the students in their cohort before they watched the video and after they watched the video, and they actually measured the behavioral changes that they were able to make, or the anticipated behavioral changes based on the students' answers. Coastal Defenders was another big winner last year. This was a team from CapU, and they produced a really cool documentary, but the documentary itself wasn't the project. The project was really about how do you get as many people as possible to watch the documentary and pledge action based on that. And so they held a premiere, they distributed DVDs to teachers and to associates, and then as of judging time only, the video's gone on to be way more popular, but they had almost 400 views, and they did that all in one semester. A slightly different type of project happened over at VIU, and this is where a whole class was experiencing just a lot of social isolation. And so the team looked at how they could use class time, a few minutes of class time every class, to break down those barriers. So they did a survey, they determined the actions, they came up with a plan, they presented it to their instructor, they said, hey, every class can we have 5 minutes? And then they did a survey after, and they showed that they improved the collegiality and social connections for the students in their programs and all of the impacts of that, and they actually produced a video that documented the whole process, and that's what they handed in. So that was a really fast overview of Project Change itself, and now I'm going to hand it over to Annika. I'm going to bring back the Shadow of Doom just so I can make her the presenter, and she's going to go through her presentation. Shadow of Doom.
Thank you. Well, while Morgan is getting this ready, I am quickly going to introduce myself so we can get moving because I have lots of awesome information for you guys. So my name is Annika. I have been with BC Hydro Power Smart now for, I guess, almost 7 years. So can you see my screen? Sorry, everybody? Can you just type into the chat window if you can see this so we're all good? Morgan, you can see it, right?
I can see it.
Okay.
No, I can't.
Okay. And I hope, do I have to move the little window too? Are you seeing my black shadow now?
I'm not seeing anything. I'm only seeing my own screen.
Okay.
I'm not really sure what's happening.
So you can't see mine at all? You should be able to see mine.
Now I can. Now I can. Let's see. Let's get maybe a text or a Chris if you can type into the chat and let me know if you can see Annika's screen.
Yeah, should work.
I can see your screen. So
and you can see the. Perfect. Okay. Well, I'm gonna go. I'm just gonna go. Did we get a text back?
We got it. We got it. They're looking at your screen.
Fantastic. So yeah, so really quickly, I've been with PowerSmart now for about 7 years. I've done tons of different roles, and as of late, I guess for the last 2 years, I've been really involved in marketing and partnerships, and obviously that's how I got to start working with LinkBC. And what we wanted to do, so when Morgan and I chatted, I said, well, you know what, I love to share some of the experiences and best practices that we've garnered and gathered over the last 20 years when it comes to social marketing, because that's really what you are doing with your project. You are changing social norms. You are using social marketing to make these projects happen and to engage with your community. So that's really my goal today, is to share some of this information with you. So really quickly, what I'm hoping you're going to get out of today is, obviously really learn a little bit more about social marketing and what that is. I teach this class quite a bit, and often what I get is like, oh, Annika, it's social media. I'm like, oh, actually, no, it's not all. So we'll talk a little bit about that so you can really understand what social marketing means. You're going to learn about the PowerSmart social marketing framework. It's kind of, as Morgan mentions, our secret sauce. It's our 10 steps to Nirvana, so I'm happy to share that with you. And hopefully you're going to find a lot of these tools and examples that I'm giving you are very applicable to your project for Project Change. And then again, at the end, hopefully we're going to have lots of time to kind of chat about and see if you have any further questions. So let's see here. Why are we not? Oh, here we go. So one of the things I do want to start with when I talk about social marketing, and especially in the realm of PowerSmart, one of the things I talk about quite a bit and always comes to mind for me is the fact that being easy is not that, or being easy is not that green. No, it's not that easy being green this way around. And we experience that quite a bit in PowerSmart, because imagine, like, our goal from a PowerSmart perspective is to basically provide energy efficiency and conservation efforts to change social behavior and to change perception in the marketplace. So really, PowerSmart is BC Hydro's energy efficiency and conservation arm, if you want to call it that. And our goal is to offset the demand for electricity so that we don't have to worry about building more supply. The hard part about this is that when you think about electricity in BC, well, we have some of the lowest electricity rates in North America. As a matter of fact, it's the third lowest electricity rate. And it can be quite challenging to make a business case for this because people are like, okay, Annika, you're saving me, what, a cup of Starbucks coffee if I turn off my lights? That's some of the answers I get quite a bit. So you have to be really creative and think about more than what the eye sees, and that is the obvious financial gain. So again, we'll talk a little bit more about that. The other big part with what we do is when you talk about conservation, it implies doing without or doing with less. And as a society, we haven't been trained to do with less because we want more. We want to be bigger, bolder, and faster. So conservation doesn't always have the most appealing touch, I'd like to say. So quite a bit of a challenge when we go into these things. Nevertheless, we've been super successful over the past 20 years in meeting our conservation goals year after year after year. And one of the reasons why I think we've been doing so well is because we are applying these social marketing principles. There's a lot of other things that obviously go into this, but again, that's kind of what I want to focus on today. So let's look a little bit more at what does social marketing really mean. And I'm just going to read out this little explanation because I really think it hits the point. Social marketing is the creation of programs to bring about social change using traditional, experiential, guerrilla, and social media marketing that result in a new social norm. So really, again, social marketing is all about changing social norms. Now, you might be asking, it's like, well, Annika, what on earth is a social norm now? Well, if we talk about social norms, generally what we talk about is group or our group-held beliefs. It can be one, it can be multiple, and basically these beliefs dictate how a society or a group behaves. Excellent example of that is if there are any Mad Men fans out there. If you think about the 50s, one of the social norms was smoking. Smoking was allowed anywhere and everywhere. It was actually kind of frowned upon or looked badly on if you didn't smoke because that's just the way it was. It was a status symbol. It was something that united everybody. It was the smoking behavior. Now, fast forward to the 21st century and where we're at today. It's the exact opposite. The social norm has completely changed where really smoking is frowned upon. You can't smoke anywhere inside. If you're smoking outside, you have to be in a certain distance of a building, etc., etc. So that is a social norm that has changed over time. And again, we're going to look at how you can change social norms potentially with some of the things that you are doing. So what I'm showing you here is, again, we call it the 10 steps to Nirvana or the social marketing framework that we use at PowerSmart. I'm going to go through all 10 steps and explain a little bit more what they mean. Now, when we talk about social marketing, we don't say go throughout your marketing plans out the window. It's not like that. What it is if you're thinking about marketing plans or projects in general that have a social marketing component or are dealing with behavior changes, it doesn't matter if it's in the conservation, in the environmental field, if it's in the social field, etc. We generally lay over these 10 principles in order to be successful. Now, they're not like the epiphany or the non plus ultra, because some of these steps you might be able to do more or less, but following them will definitely give you a bit of a better understanding of what is needed in order to create social change. So the number one thing, and I'm actually going to spend quite a bit of time on this because I think a lot of people don't get this part or just think it's so easy to do, so they kind of overlook it. The number one, I'm always going to call it a rule, is you have to understand people and not customers. Now, again, if we're looking at electricity, it's very easy to just think about your customer. Electricity is a low involvement product. All we think about is like, okay, I plug in my toaster and, you know, and it works. Or I plug in my iPhone and it gets charged. So if I'm only looking at that transaction between me as a utility and the customer, I am missing out on everything and anything that you'll need to do social marketing. Understanding people is really understanding their passions, what motivates them, who are they, what are their networks, who do they trust, who do they believe in, and everything else around it, because that will make a huge difference in how you approach your project and your campaigns. Now, obviously, the number one thing to think about, and that's what we saw in some of the projects that Morgan showed earlier, is obviously you've got to do your research, right? There's some quantitative research and there's some qualitative research. But you also have to go a little bit above and beyond what you can get out of a general survey or a segmentation. And one of the things that I use a lot in the work I do, which wasn't my idea, too bad actually, but it's by a company called IDEO, and they are a very, very successful product development company in San Francisco. And they use something that they call the human-centered design. So again, it's all people-focused. So when they create, it's always people-focused. And one of the tools that they use to create new ideas is this thing called the network map. And the network map is really to, again, figure out more about the person you're dealing with or the types of people you're dealing with rather than just looking at a customer. Now, we have 1.7 million customers, and I fully understand that I cannot go in and identify what all my customers' attitudes are, what kind of hobbies they have, and if they have a cat or a dog. That's not the point. Often what you do is you start with a segmentation and kind of narrow it down, but you kind of find personas that you can work with. So imagine this persona is me in this particular case, and what you then do is really, again, kind of dive into, well, what are Annika's values, especially if you're talking about social change, if it's, you know, a certain charity or whatever you want to support with your project. You want to understand my values. Maybe you want to understand my influences, like who do I follow? You know, am I a big fan of a certain type of politician, or is it really my family and my friends who are my influencers, and that's how I make choices? So really doing a deep dive into that will make your project a lot better. And so that you can see I'm actually using this at work. This is something I did not too long ago where we looked at architectural students, and I wanted to get more involved with architectural students, so I tried to understand them better as to what they do and how they behave. So I can, again, figure out ways on how I can connect with them and meet them where they are, which is a big thing that we were trying to achieve with these things. The other thing also that you want to look at is that some people that might not want to participate at all in what you do, and why are they not participating? Or look at people that are super keeners and they're out there, they're crazy environmentalists. Why are they doing what they're doing? And try to see how you can engage that with your projects. So people, again, is a very, very important piece. But the next piece that comes along with that is one thing that I just already alluded to, is the fact that you need to meet people where they are and try to create an emotional connection, some excitement in order to raise awareness. There's many ways on how you can do this, but really the key points that I always talk about when I talk about the emotional connection excitement is keep in mind that your message has to be simple, very, very simple. Storytelling is an excellent opportunity to get your message out there. Get some success stories. Let somebody else's voice be heard and not your own brand, so to say. Do something that's unexpected. You know, it's like if you are trying to promote a certain charity, etc. Yeah, it's pretty easy to, you know, just, I don't know, set up a booth somewhere and you know, kind of raise awareness that way. But what if you did something crazy, like run a snowboarding little competition outside in your university schoolyard, so to say? That creates excitement. That's unexpected. That's different. That's what people want, and that's what will help you create awareness. One of the #1 things to always, always, always remember is, why on earth should anybody care about what you have to say? So when you craft your messages, when you craft your ideas and your execution, always think about, why should people care? So if you can nail that, then again, you're many, many more steps closer than just step 2 to Nirvana. This is a great example of one thing that we've done for PowerSmart, and that generally happens around PowerSmart month, and I think we did it 2 years in a row, where we just popped up these containers in the middle of downtown Vancouver, and basically had 2 living rooms. One living room that was super high energy efficient and one living room that wasn't. And we had actors just kind of hanging out and doing what they do, and obviously one being very conservative in their energy use and the other one just using anything and everything. And then outside you could see how much electricity they're using. So it was a great visual to be like, oh wow, you know, I do this all the time. I should probably change my behavior and do something different, because look at that guy over there. He is, you know, conserving and having still a jolly good time, but he's using half of the electricity that I use. So again, do something unexpected, do something interesting, create that emotional connection so that, again, you can kind of meet people where they are. The next one is all about partnerships, and that is something near and dear to my heart. Obviously, that's why, you know, we collaborate with opportunities such as LinkBC here. And partnerships that's what I do basically for a living. And partnerships can really, really help you meet people where they are, because often your partners will have channels that you would never have had access to. And when you go out and like, you know, create social change, or even in any kind of general product setting, you don't want to alienate people that are already out there. See what you can do with them, and if there is an opportunity to collaborate. I often call it the collaboration equation, where it takes, you know, like the expertise of different people to make something amazing, so that 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2 but 10. With the partnerships, it's obviously the #1 priority is to create win-win situations. And again, that's something you want to really, you know, engage in and think about, is like, well, if I'm going to go and get this partner on board, what are they going to get out of it, and how can we help them make things more, you know, more attractive for what they're doing. The other thing that is also important when you look at partners is, like, think about building a lasting infrastructure. So especially, again, might not, you know, even for your project, it's like, don't just use little one-off partnerships that where you're like, okay, well, that's kind of convenient. And think about, what does that mean for the organization that you're trying to promote in the long run. And unfortunately, partnerships take a lot more effort and take a longer time, but the payoff is so much greater. Great example of an amazing partnership is an LED program that we ran. It started in 2002, where we had some engineers that traveled to Europe and saw all these LED Christmas lights. LED Christmas lights are about 95% more energy efficient than the ones that are incandescent. They're like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. We want to have those in PC. So they took them home and took them to the marketing team, and we're like, oh, okay, well, that's kind of cool. What should we do with this? And the first year, I must have been like 2003, we kind of hung them up in, you know, some like obviously high visible areas, and people got so excited about these lights that they were climbing trees to get them off. I'm not joking, not very safe, but this is what happened. And we're like, wow, you know, there's quite a bit of hype around this. What should we do? So there were obviously multiple options. We could have just imported a whole bunch of LED Christmas lights on our own and maybe sold them on our own and do all these things. Well, you know, Hydro is not in the business of selling lights. So we really looked at, well, what is it going to take to get the product into the province? So how can we work with the manufacturers to meet the standards from a safety perspective and just the general product standards to get the import license for BC? So we had engineering teams working with them. And then the marketing team looked at, well, what kind of partners could we find to get these products out the door? So obviously the obvious partnerships are the retail partnerships, and that's who we went after. The London Drugs, the Home Depots, the Ronas, all of them came on board and bought into this LED Christmas light idea. And we had special promotions, and the one you see here must have been in about 2007, where we did these awesome LED displays, and we had people riding their bikes, or riding one bike to power this Rudolph the red-nosed, oh, Jesus, Rudolph with the red nose, and he is a reindeer. And we had people powering this Rudolph 24 hours, and it took like nothing except for a bike. So again, think about excitement, doing something, you know, interesting, and figuring out what the partners could be. I think by about 2005, or it must have been 2005, 2007, we actually imported 25% of the global LED Christmas light supply to BC. 25%. That's crazy. Considering, you know, we're a relatively small fish in the big scheme of things. So again, partnerships can be a wonderful and amazing thing if they're done right and if they're done to last for a long time. So think about Christmas now. If you go into a Rona or Home Depot, you hardly find anything else but LED Christmas lights. So definitely a great success story on partnerships. The next thing I want to talk about is affordability. Now, again, it really depends on what kind of social cause you're choosing. It might not be an issue for you. But obviously for us, again, you know, when we are talking especially to large commercial customers or even the general public, there's always the notion of, you know, how can we make this affordable? So one of the things that we think about quite a lot is, you know, are there real or are there perceived affordability issues? Because there's definitely a bit of a difference around there. And then we think about how can we make exclusive offers, or how can we incentivize things so that people get interested in a certain technology, for example, and that they want to use it. Once they've used it and you have a certain, you know, momentum in the market tips, and we basically call that, you know, kind of the increasing the market share and getting to certain market penetration where you're like, okay, we are good to go. We can kind of pull our incentives because the social norms have changed. People are now using these LED lights or using CFLs everywhere, so we don't have to incentivize it anymore, and the market has transformed. So again, one of the great examples, and you're going to see that actually right now because it is Power Smart Month. October is Power Smart Month for us. So you're going to see us in the retail stores a lot more. Now, you're probably not going to find a whole lot of incentives on CFLs now because, again, with CFLs, we're getting close to market transformation. It is something that is being picked up by, you know, a large majority of the population here in BC, and also because obviously some of our lighting regulations have changed so that you can't buy the incandescent bulbs anymore. But incentivizing these and educating along the way is definitely something that we do quite a bit to overcome the affordability barrier. Acceptance, oh, that can be a challenging one because especially if you were thinking about, I'm just thinking back to some of the projects earlier, the green hotel ones. Like, yeah, we all agree that we shouldn't do X, Y, Z when we're traveling, and that we should really think more green when we want to go travel. But are we really going to accept it? Are we really going to do it? Are we going to act on it? That is the biggest question, and that's going to be your challenge for your project. Is raising awareness is one thing, but how do you change people's behaviors and make them accept that? The biggest thing here is to really think about, what are people going to miss if they continue with the old behavior? What are they going to miss if they get to, not change the towels every day in the hotel? And what does that mean for them? And how can you make up for what they feel they're going to miss? Or are they really going to miss it? So again, think about what are some of these perceived versus real issues when it comes to acceptance. And the other thing is also think about who else are you competing with in the marketplace. Messages are, in thousands and millions out there. Everybody has something to say, some organization they want you to support, some charity they want you to donate to. A dinner here, an event there. It's like you got to compete with a lot of other projects. I mean, even in your classroom right now, thinking about who's going to do which project for Project Change, you're going to be in competition. So again, think about, what does that mean and how does that impact? Are there opportunities to collaborate? And how are you going to deal with the acceptance issues there? So that's, again, kind of, trying to figure out what is it that's going to make people be like, nah, thumbs down, we don't want to, participate in that. The other big thing to think about, too, especially if you're having, sign-ups for something, etc., is also look at your processes. Look in the mirror and say, are we making this hard for people, and is this why people don't want to participate? And believe me, a lot of the stuff we're doing, that's a big challenge, right? We're a big crown corporation. Sometimes things don't go as fast as people are used to out there in other areas. And that is because our processes are set up a little differently. And so we really have to look at those and be like, is this really what's holding people back? And if it is, what can we do about this? And how can we help them, accept what we're doing and wanting to participate by making things easier? The next thing, number 6, I want to talk about is targets. And again, you kind of heard this from some of the earlier projects. Setting targets is very important, and not just setting targets for yourself, but also setting targets for those that are participating. How much electricity do you want me to save, or how many of my friends do you want me to sign up, and how is that going to look like, and how do I know when I am successful? Is it when I've gone to a hotel and didn't change my towels 3 times? Is it when, I signed up for your little petition? Is it when I participated in an event? Is that when I'm successful? So make sure you set realistic targets and figure out what that means for people, and what is the plan to get people to reach their goal and their target. One of the things to think about is kind of laddering things. You want to ladder people up. Don't make the goal unachievable. Give them a step-by-step, kind of like, yay, high five, you got to hear it. Now let's take it up a notch. Really think about small steps and the small ladder before you make them go all the way up on the big ladder. Quick wins, that's the other thing. Like anything that's quick wins, make them happy. Show them, hey, you've done something well. Now let's go to the next step. So setting targets and having a plan is important. And this is a great little ad that we did for some of our workplace conservation initiatives. So again, all about behavioral change. How do we get people to turn off their monitors, to turn off their lights, etc. in the workplace, and how do you measure that? So we have programs running with big companies that basically measure these behavioral changes and give targets to people. So I love how this guy, his inappropriate behavior is not him hanging out there, but how his monitor is obviously on. So, so again, something interesting and fun, but this is definitely something that we strive for, is setting targets for our participants. Utilize the power of norms. Again, obviously, we did talk about that earlier, is what is a norm. Now, the power of norms is about how do you get people to basically do what their peers do? How do you get people to take action because their friends, their colleagues, and everybody else is taking action. So they don't want to be left behind, so they want to act, and they want to do something. Power of norms is extremely important in social marketing and can come in many different shapes and forms. And one of the ways it can come through is through advocates. A book that I highly always recommend to people to read if you have some free time. I know that's kind of ridiculous to say considering your workload is pretty heavy. But a great book is a book called The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell. Amazing guy. He has some great books out there. But it really talks about the different types of advocates that are out there and how you can use them to help you create social change or get to that tipping point where all of a sudden it spreads like a wildfire. Think about the Harlem Shake. What on earth happened there? All of a sudden everybody is doing a Harlem Shake. Not necessarily for social change, but again, think about that. Like what's getting things to go viral, to go crazy, to get them to a tipping point. It's certain people that participate that are advocates of doing certain things that can help you. We have advocates, one very fitting right now with the hockey season starting again, is Brian Kessler. He's been one of our advocates who's been joining our Team Power Smart and saying, you know what, I want to conserve energy. I don't know everything about this, but I'm happy to learn, and I want to, you know, stand up for conservation, and I want to show everybody that it's possible and that it doesn't matter if you know a lot or if you know a little about this, that you can definitely make change. So he's been a great advocate for us. Obviously, celebrities, it doesn't have to be a celebrity per se, but people are going to have influence in your area. So think about your project and your cause. What are some people that have influence, and how can you get them involved? So again, advocates, very important. The other big piece is commitment, and commitment kind of goes hand in hand with targets. Gaining commitment is an important part, because a lot of people say, yeah, I totally agree. We should, you know, not. We should only go to hotels that serve, you know, local food. I think that's fantastic. But next time they travel, you know, they don't really think about it because they never made that commitment. They never raised their hand and said, yes, I'm in. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go on a challenge to only travel to places that are environmentally friendly, and I'm going to blog about it or whatever else. So getting commitment is very important, and commitments can be small or big. It can be as simple as a little project that I did was to, you know, just thumbs up. Like if you're agreeing with something, if you want to be part of this, you know, give me a thumbs up, snap a picture, tweet it, Facebook it, etc. to show the world, you know what, I made a commitment. Like in this case, it's like I want to be green in my career in the future. It's like I want to really make a change. And so again, commitments have to be public, right? It has to be like me saying I'm raising my hands to do something. And often it's great to get group commitments too. So that helps, and obviously get people to get others to commit, right? It's share with your friends on Facebook or get 10 others to do X, Y, Z. Commitment is an important part of the whole equation. Feedback, again, kind of goes along with all of these, again, especially with the target. You also have to let people know how they're doing. It's not enough to say, oh, I want you to, you know, like, go up this ladder, and once you're up there, I'm going to clap. It's like, tell them how they're doing along the way. if you're doing a little, a floor challenge of who conserves the most energy or who brings in, lunch from home most often. Like, tell people how you're doing. It's like, oh, this week, floor A is in the lead with 10 lunches being brought, or with X amount of electricity saved, or X amount of composting done. Whatever that is, definitely provide feedback and give people an opportunity to kind of know where they're at. Feedback can also come in form of kind of competitions. I love competitions. So people love doing little competitions to participate to get some feedback that they're doing well. Around in February, the World Wildlife Foundation generally holds their National Sweater Day, and often what we'll do is like a most outrageous sweater competition. So the reason why we ask people to put on sweaters is so that they put on the sweater and turn down their heat. And if you make it fun and interesting and make a competition, people want to be part of it. So again, think about how you can potentially use competitions or comparison to give feedback. Now, look at this. We're pretty much at the end here. So the last step, and actually there's multiple steps, is all about action comes first, then you kind of create those habits and those behaviors, and then if you were crazy lucky, you might get that social movement and that social change. Now, the challenge is obviously along the way, often people do something once and then forget. So don't get frustrated with them. It's, obviously getting them to do the first step is important, but you have to always reinforce. Turning off the lights once is not going to change the world. Continuing with that habit and forming that habit of turning off your lights and your heat when you leave the house, that's what's going to make the change. And at one point, if you walk into some of your friends' house and it's super hot and they obviously haven't been there, you're going to be like, whoa, why are you doing that? That's not what you should be doing. Nobody's doing that. It's like everybody's turning off their heat, and wow, you're a bit of an outcast now. So that's when, again, that whole peer pressure, and I don't want to call it peer pressure, but peer behavior, power of norms comes in, and that's when you create that social movement where people are like, yes, I want to be part of this. I want to make a difference. And again, it doesn't matter if it's different environmentally, if it's different socially, or economically, to be quite frank. It's about that creating that movement. So it's all about, repeating the message. You have to reframe your message. Hitting them once is not going to do it. You have to continue to create excitement and continue to report out on their targets, etc., so that you can really get to that point where you're forming these new habits and these new cultural norms, so that you can get that social movement. And hopefully, again, if you get lucky, you will have that swarm and that snowball effect. And it doesn't always work. Like, the way to Nirvana is a long way, and some people will never get there. But it's definitely worth trying, and it's a great reward if you can actually see your project take off and see that snowball rolling, and see how people all jump on board and are like, it's just a magical feeling to get to that point where you're like, wow, I was part of this, and I helped create that. Again, sometimes it takes a lot of time, so don't get discouraged. Definitely stay on it and stay with it, and try again, and try again. Apply all 10 principles again, and hopefully, you'll get one step closer. So kind of want to wrap up with this and show you this slide again. I do have a handout for it too, Morgan. I didn't send it to you yet, but I will, which explains all 10 steps a little bit in more detail. There might be a little bit of specific PowerSmart lingo in there, so because that's what we use internally. So what I'm sharing with you here is what all employees at PowerSmart have been exposed to. Again, this is how we work, this is how we do our job, and this is how we tackle our projects. and again, quite frankly, quite successfully over the past 20 years where smart people have been putting this together. And it's not, this is nothing new. It's just a matter of kind of using a framework and getting to the end. And I think that's it. So, Morgan, if you want to open up for questions, again, I hope that this will help you with your projects, and that'll give you a bit of a guideline and some guidance on how to tackle these things. So I guess we'll just open for questions. Hello?
Hello?
Hi, sorry, I'm like, is anybody here? Do you want me to pass? Do you want me to pass it?
On mute, so you can pass it back to me if you like.
Back to you. Okay. I will do that. Here you go.
So here, I made a little spot for my black shadow of doom.
Oh, perfect.
And Chris, if you wanted to just field the questions from the class and type them into the question bar. That way you can have access to Annika's expertise. And then certainly if anyone has any other questions, I've already had a team stop by my office. So if you are a CAP student, my office is Cedar 227. And I welcome you coming by to the office to ask me your questions in person or get support in person as well. But I thought since we have Annika, it might be good to ask her some questions. So we'll just wait and see if Chris has anything to type on behalf of the class.
Sounds good. Yeah, and then again, I'll be happy to share that PDF with you so that you can send it out if there is if there's anything if that is of help. So. And then obviously if there's any questions regarding this, or if you're like, oh my God, that was obviously it's a lot of information, gosh, we do this for a living and you guys got 25 minutes of this. So if there are any specific questions, or if it's like, Annika, can you elaborate on this again? Like we kind of didn't get that. By all means, Morgan has my info. Feel free to reach out. No problem at all.
I'm not seeing any questions, but we'll just give them a minute.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then the other thing too, again, as I mentioned right now, it is Power Smart Month, so keep your eyes open in terms of, again, seeing some projects and ways we try to promote things and how we approach them, and kind of look at it and, with the eyes of, oh, well, does that follow the principles, or how did they do this, and how does that kind of align with this whole social change and social movement? Obviously, we try to do to do it as much as possible. Again, it's like if you write a marketing plan for us, this all has to be part of it. But sometimes, certain elements of it will be more prevalent than others. So
Annika, we do have a question here, and yes. It says they're interested in learning how to create the win-wins. So how could students, say, help an organization like BC Hydro, for example? How could you create win-wins that way?
Yeah. Well, see, the interesting thing with partnerships, as with any kind of relationship that you go into, even thinking about it from a sales perspective, if you're a smart salesperson, you always go in wanting to create a win-win situation, not just making a sell. The number one thing when you engage with these organizations that you want to partner with or what you want to support is ask the right questions. Try to figure out what are their values, what are they striving for, what's going to make the organization tick. That will basically provide you with an opportunity to step in and help. Also look at what are their pain points, right? So if you want to collaborate with somebody, it's like, what are their pain points? Is it, oh my gosh, we don't have enough resources to do X, Y, Z? It's like, well, as a matter of fact, you know, me and my team, we can help you do this. Or is it, we don't have any social media expertise and we would love to do this? Win-win situation there if you can, you know, if you can show that. Or if it's, we don't have reach. You know, our biggest problem is reach, and we really want to, you know, reach out more. Is that something where you can partner on? So when you go into these, you know, into thinking about who to partner with, really think about, you know, what kind of values do they have? What do they strive for? What are some of the pain points, and how could you potentially help them with these pain points? And again, asking the right questions. You know, what are you trying to learn from them in terms of insights about their organization and where they want to go and what their goals are, etc. That's how I approach all of my partnerships, to be quite honest with you. It's like I look at what do I need to get out of it from oh, you know, here's my pain points, or here's really what I'm trying to achieve. And then I look at who can help me, you know, make that pain go away, so to say, and how will what I can offer them also elevate their situation. I don't know if that helps at all, but that's kind of how.
Just to build on what Annika said, you know, for instance, LinkBC has been partnering with BC Hydro for a couple of years, and it was only last year that Annika said, you know, we're happy to support Project Change, but it's not actually meeting what we're looking for. And so Annika and I sat down and we had a chat, and we looked at what is the expertise that BC Hydro has, and what can we provide for our students. So we changed the structure of our partnership midway through, and that's also really important. So rather than just say, oh, well, I guess BC Hydro doesn't want to support this, obviously not, right? There were some things about Project Change that they were really interested in engaging in, especially in terms of actually helping educate students and helping you produce really great projects and make a difference. And so we zeroed in on that, and then it was actually Annika's idea to do webinars, and it's had a really positive impact on LinkBC as a whole, because now we're doing other webinars with other experts. So it really does snowball into this great thing as long as you keep those lines of communication open. And as she said in the beginning, just ask those questions. If you get a no, then find out, well, why is that a no? What is it that you're actually looking for?
Great, yeah, great example. Look at us partnering, finding win-wins. Any other questions?
Okay, so I'm just going to read this one out. Sometimes the hardest people to get motivated are your team. How can you motivate your employees or your team to change, and what type of success have you had within BC Hydro? These are good questions, guys.
Excellent, excellent question. Oh, gosh, yeah, very good. Yes, you are right. Motivating your team or your employees can be quite challenging, but to be honest, it's the same type of principles that you apply, right? I actually started out working in employee engagement. That's always been my expertise, is in that realm. And same thing, if I built my my project, it was following the same principles. So one of the things that we do, for example, internally, is we have our own green team. So we found some of those leaders, again, think about, you know, who are kind of the change makers, that wanted to take this on to encourage employees to take part in some green initiatives. And then we did, you know, we kind of went through the things, like we set targets. We had floor challenges, or now we don't anymore, but because we've kind of gone beyond the turn of your monitor, because everybody is doing it now because it has become the habit. But in the beginning, we're like, okay, well, how are we going to get people excited about this? So at PowerSmart, we have 5 or 6 different floors that we work on. One is the engineering floor, one is the marketing floor, etc. So we would hold these floor challenges of who can conserve the most energy. And we actually set meters on the floors so we could track that. So that, you know, once people shut off all their stuff, that we could see does it make an impact or not. And then, you know, you would win a pizza lunch or something, so you have to have reward, right? There is something to reward. We had pledges, so public pledges where you could sign up on a big wall and say, here's what I'm going to commit to this month to do. And then we had follow-ups on those pledges. We had the Sweater Day initiative. Every year we're doing like crazy little competitions where people dress up in their fun sweaters, and we talk about turning off the heat. We turned down the heat in the office on that day. So everybody kind of has to wear a sweater, otherwise they're going to be cold. So it's the same principles, really, because, again, it's like don't think about them as employees. Same thing as you shouldn't think about your customers as customers. Think about them as people. Who are these people, and what makes them want to be part of this change? And go beyond the, oh, they work at BC Hydro, or they're my teammates, whatever. It's like really try to dive in and be like, oh, there's Annika. You know, what does Annika believe in, and how am I going to get her to not forget her to turn off her monitor? Well, look at that. Annika loves chocolate, so maybe, you know, she's not the only one. So we're going to, every time somebody turns off their monitor, we're going to have a little scouting team that walks around. We actually have that secret ops, they're called. And if you did turn off your monitor and turn off all your power bars around, we can leave you some chocolate. And next day I'm coming back, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. So it's things like that. It doesn't have to be massive, right? It's the small things that will make a difference and will make people want to participate. Again, it doesn't matter if it's employees or if it's your school team or your class or if it's customers. It's all the same thing.
That's really great, Annika. What are some ways to make a change project happen when you don't have a budget?
Haha. Oh, you came to the right place. So I know people saying it's like, oh, Annika, you work for BC Hydro and you do all these crazy things for lots of money. Actually, most of my projects are on very, very, very small budgets. And especially when I worked internally and did employee communications and employee engagement, I refused to take budgets, or I only worked with very small budgets because I believe that you can make a lot of things happen without a lot of money. Again, think about partners. If you don't have the money, maybe somebody else does. And, you know, that's what LinkBC does, is like they kind of reach out to make this project change happen for you. There's other partners that come on board that will pay up because they see the benefit and the win-win situation out of it. Also, excitement and creativity doesn't have to cost much. You know, I remember like we made this really budget little video that I made in-house to, again, kind of show some success stories of some of the great work we've done. And again, we did it in-house. People loved it. Like everybody was watching this thing. And it didn't cost me a thing except of me making it. And it wasn't just filming people. It was kind of creative and funky and quirky. So, you know, again, there's so many things that you can do to create excitement that don't cost a lot of money. It's just about being creative. And one thing that I really do encourage you, again, once you understand who your people are, what are their networks, and what do they do, figure out what's the best way to meet them where they are. And that doesn't always have to be a massive billboard. One of the things that we figured out, especially with conservation, was like, well, wait a minute, there's all these soccer moms hanging out at the soccer pitch or at the hockey rink, and they are advocates, and they, you know, talk to people. They're engaged in their communities. How about we get them to engage a little bit more with us on conservation and sharing their expertise and their knowledge, etc. So it's, you know, it doesn't, again, sometimes it's just having a good conversation that will spread the word. Sometimes it's trying to figure out, well, now, soccer moms, what can we do with soccer moms that's relatively easy? Well, you know, can one of my people that loves playing soccer go out and do a Power Smart coaching day for the kids that play soccer? Can we get a Ryan Kessler? Well, okay, that costs a little bit more money, although he doesn't take any money for what he does. So all our celebrities, there's no money exchange. They do this because they believe in it. So again, it's like, you know, think about those opportunities. It's like sometimes it's not as obvious, but you might have to dig a little deeper. but be creative and don't let money hold you back. That's all I can say. And find partners that have money.
That's great. Thanks, Annika. It looks like there aren't any further questions, so I'm going to shut down the webinar, and I'd just like to give Annika a round of applause. We'll imagine that this is many, many more hands clapping.
Yay! Thank you.
It sounds like they really enjoyed it based on the questions, comments of yeah, applause. So if anyone has any further questions for Annika, you can field those through me, and I can always use her as a resource.
Perfect.
So come down the hallway to see me. I'm going to get this PDF. Once I get it from Annika, I'm going to get it over to Chris for you guys to have and enjoy. And thank you, everyone, for your attention and participation. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys. Morgan, on the PDF, I should be back in the office tomorrow, so I'll send it to you tomorrow if that's okay.
That's perfect.
Awesome. Well, thank you, and yeah, hopefully this is helpful, and we'll connect soon.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, bye.